Captain Taeyong Park stood on the bridge of his ship, the Harmony, and watched the stars outside his window. His crew worked quietly around him, checking screens and pressing buttons. Everything was normal. Everything was peaceful. Then the main screen flickered and turned on by itself. "Sir, we're getting an incoming transmission," said Hana Lee from her station. She was the ship's navigator, a young woman with quick fingers and sharp eyes. It's coming from very far away, outside our known space." Taeyong felt his heart beat faster. "Put it on screen." The image that appeared made everyone stop working. A huge creature filled the screen, at least 8 feet tall. Its skin was covered in dark green scales that reflected the light. Its eyes were yellow and cold. It had a long snout filled with sharp teeth. The creature wore a uniform covered in medals and strange symbols. "I am High Emissary Vex Thor of the Galactic Dominion," the creature said. Its voice was deep and threatening. "I speak for the empire that rules 40,000 star systems. We have discovered your species. We have watched you. Now, you will listen." Taeyong looked at his weapons officer, Do-yoon Kim, who shrugged. They had never heard of any galactic dominion before. "You are young," Vex Thor continued. "You are weak. You control only one small system. But the Empire is generous. We offer you a place among the great civilizations of the galaxy. You will kneel before our Empress. You will follow our laws. You will pay us tribute." The science officer, Minho Choi, leaned over and whispered to Taeyong. "Did he just tell us to kneel?" "Quiet," Taeyong whispered back, but he was thinking the same thing. Vex Thor's yellow eyes seemed to stare right through the screen. "These are the terms. You will obey them, or you will be destroyed. First, you must give us 30% of everything you make. Food, metals, energy, everything. Second, you must send us 100,000 of your young people to fight in our armies. Third, you must accept an imperial governor who will rule your world. Fourth, you must follow all 847 sacred edicts that guide all civilized species." Someone on the bridge made a small noise, but Taeyong couldn't tell who it was. "You have one full cycle of your home star to accept these terms," Vex's Thor said. "If you refuse, we will send our fleets. We will burn your worlds. We will destroy every ship you have. We will erase your species from the galaxy. Do you understand?" The screen went dark. The bridge was completely silent. Taeyong looked around at his crew. Hana had her hand over her mouth. Do-yoon was staring at the dark screen with wide eyes. Minho was shaking his head slowly. Then Taeyong started to laugh. It began as a small chuckle. Then it grew louder. He tried to stop, but he couldn't. His shoulders shook. Tears formed in his eyes. "Sir?" Hana asked, confused. But Do-yoon was laughing too now. So was Minho. Within seconds, the entire bridge crew was laughing so hard, they had to hold onto their chairs. Some people were bent over. Others were wiping tears from their faces. The screen suddenly flickered back on. Vex's Thor's face appeared again, and he looked angry. "Why do you laugh?" the emissary demanded. His scales had changed color slightly, turning more purple. "Do you not understand? We will destroy you." Taeyong tried to speak, but he couldn't stop laughing. He held up one hand, asking for a moment. He took deep breaths. Finally, he managed to control himself. "I'm sorry," Taeyong said, still smiling. "I'm sorry. But you want us to give you 30% of everything we make?" "Yes," Vex Thor said slowly, as if speaking to a child. "And send you 100,000 soldiers?" "Yes." "And accept someone to rule over us?" "Yes." "And follow 800. How many rules did you say?" 847 sacred edicts, Vex Thor said proudly. Taeyong looked at Do-yoon, who was biting his lip to keep from laughing again. Then Taeyong looked back at the screen. "And if we say no, you'll destroy us?" "Yes," Vex Thor said firmly. "Completely. Absolutely. Without mercy." Taeyong nodded slowly. Okay, I understand. Just one question. What? Vex Thor asked. Do you really think that's going to work? Vex Thor's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? I mean, Taeyang said, leaning forward in his chair. Do you really think we're just going to say yes? Do you really think humans are going to let some giant lizard tell us what to do? I am not a lizard, Vex Thor roared. I am a proud son of the Empire, and you will show respect. Sorry, Taeyang said. But he was still smiling. But seriously, where did you get these ideas? Did this work on other species? Vex Thor straightened his uniform. Of course it worked. It has worked for 3,000 years. All species see the wisdom of joining the Empire. All species understand they cannot win against our might. All civilized beings follow the sacred edicts. A.T. How many species have you conquered? Minho asked from his station. The Empire does not conquer, Vex Thor said coldly. We invite. We offer protection. We bring order to chaos. Over 1,000 species have joined us willingly. Willingly, Doyun repeated, making the word sound funny. And how many said no? Hana asked. Vex Thor was quiet for a moment. 3 species have refused. They no longer exist. The laughter on the bridge stopped. Everyone looked at each other. This was serious. These aliens really would attack if humans said no, but Taeyang was still smiling. Okay. I need to talk to my government. This is a big decision. Can you give us some time? You have 1 cycle. Vex Thor reminded him. Choose wisely. The Empire is patient, but the Empire is not weak. Reject our generous offer, and you will learn why we rule the galaxy. The screen went dark again. Yuna Shin, the diplomatic officer, came onto the bridge. She had been listening to everything from her office. Captain, we need to send a message to Earth Command immediately. This is a first contact situation. The politicians will need to decide what to do. I know what they'll decide, Taeyang said, standing up from his chair. Humans don't kneel. Not to anyone. But sir, Yuna said quietly. They say they destroyed 3 other species. What if they really can destroy us? Taeyang looked out at the stars again. Then we'll go down fighting. But I don't think it will come to that. Why not? Doyun asked. Because, Taeyang said. Anyone who thinks they can control humanity by making demands and following old rules doesn't understand what humans are like. We've been fighting each other for thousands of years. We know every dirty trick. We know how to win when we're losing. And we definitely know how to break rules. He turned back to his crew. Send everything to Earth Command. Send them the full recording. And tell them the Empire just made a very big mistake. What mistake? Hana asked. Taeyang grinned. They told us their rules before the fight started. 3 days had passed since the Empire's message. Yuna Shin sat in her office aboard the Harmony, staring at her screen. She had sent a request to the Empire for a copy of all 847 sacred edicts. To her surprise, they had sent it immediately. They're proud of these rules, she muttered to herself. Her assistant, Junho Kang, brought her a cup of coffee. He was young and eager, always ready to help. Have you started reading them yet? I'm on edict number 12, Yuna said, rubbing her eyes. This is going to take forever. What do they say so far? Yuna scrolled back to the beginning. Well, edict number 1 says that all species must respect the Empress. Edict number 2 says that all species must contribute to the Empire. Number 3 says that all disputes must be solved peacefully whenever possible. Those don't sound too bad, Junho said. Wait, Yuna said, scrolling down. Here's where it gets weird. Edict number 23 says that no species shall eat food while standing up. Junho blinked. What? That's what it says. Apparently, eating while standing is uncivilized. You must sit down to eat. But why? It was written 3,000 years ago by some species that thought sitting was more polite, Yuna explained. And now everyone has to follow it. Junho leaned closer to the screen. What else is there? Yuna kept scrolling. And her eyes grew wider. Oh no. Oh. This is... Junho. Look at this. Edict 156. Junho read it out loud. All wars must be declared 10 cycles in advance. Both sides must agree on the time and place of battle. Surprise attacks are forbidden and dishonorable. They looked at each other. They have to schedule their wars? Junho said slowly. Keep reading, Yuna said, pointing at the screen. Junho read more. Edict 389. All warfare must stop during the Festival of Seven Moons. Any species that fights during the festival will be declared criminals. Edict 562, Yuna continued. Weapons of mass destruction are forbidden. Honor demands face-to-face combat. Only ship-to-ship battles are allowed. Edict 731. A species may only expand to star systems that their slowest ships can reach within 100 cycles. They sat in silence for a long moment. Are they serious? Junho finally asked. Completely serious, Yuna said. These are their sacred laws. They've been following them for thousands of years. But these rules are stupid. You can't fight a war by making appointments. You can't tell your enemy when you're going to attack. The Empire does, Yuna said quietly. And apparently, it's worked for them. For 3,000 years. Captain Taeyang walked into the office. Have you found anything interesting? Sir, you need to see this, Yuna said, turning her screen toward him. The Empire's rules for warfare. They're insane. Taeyang read through the edicts. His expression changed from curious to surprised to amused. They schedule their battles? Yes. Sir, they don't use weapons of mass destruction? They say it's dishonorable. They stop fighting during holidays? According to Edict 389, Taeyang started laughing again. This explains everything. This is why they think they can just demand things from us. This is why they think we'll surrender. Sir? Junho asked, confused. Don't you see? Taeyang said, pointing at the screen. They've been fighting wars where everyone follows the same rules. Everyone agrees when to fight. Everyone agrees how to fight. Everyone plays fair. And we don't, Yuna said, understanding. Humans stopped playing fair thousands of years ago, Taeyang said. We learned that nice guys finish last. We learned that if you want to win, you do whatever it takes. He called up the rest of the bridge crew. Soon, Doyun, Hana, Minho, and several others crowded into Yuna's small office. They all took turns reading the sacred edicts. This is a joke, right? Doyun said. Someone is pranking us. It's real, Yuna assured him. The Empire sent these themselves. They're very proud of their rules. Minho pulled up his own screen and started searching through Earth's history files. Look at this, he said, projecting images onto the wall. The Empire's rules versus what humans actually did. He showed pictures from old wars on Earth, surprise attacks, night raids, traps and ambushes, chemical weapons, nuclear bombs, guerrilla warfare, cyber attacks, biological weapons. We broke every single one of these edicts, Minho said. Not for fun, Taeyang corrected. For survival. For victory. Humans learned that war isn't a game. War is about winning. And you win by any means necessary. Hana was reading more edicts. Listen to this one. Edict 412. When a fleet is defeated in honorable combat, the losing species must surrender immediately. Continuing to fight after a military defeat is considered barbaric. They surrender after losing one battle? Doyun asked in disbelief. Apparently, Hana said. What about losing 100 battles? Doyun asked. What about fighting, even when you're losing? What about never giving up? They don't do that, Yuna said. It's against the rules. According to these edicts, once you lose your main fleet, you've lost the war. You're supposed to accept defeat gracefully. The room fell silent as everyone thought about this. Sir, Yuna said carefully, I think I understand now. The Empire isn't stupid. They're just different. They built a society where everyone follows the same rules, where wars are predictable, where honor matters more than winning. And that worked for 3,000 years. Taeyang said. Because everyone they met agreed to play by their rules. Every species they encountered thought the same way they did. But we don't, Minho said. No, Taeyang agreed. We definitely don't. Junho raised his hand like a student in class. Sir, I have a question. If the Empire has been doing this for 3,000 years, and they conquered 1,000 species, doesn't that mean their way works? It was a good question. Everyone looked at Taeyang. Their way works, Taeyang said slowly. Against people who agree to fight that way. But what happens when they meet someone who doesn't agree? What happens when they meet someone who laughs at their rules? They destroy them, Doyun said quietly. They said they destroyed 3 species who refused. Yes, Taeyang said. But did those species refuse and then fight? Or did they refuse and surrender? I'm guessing they saw the Empire's big fleet, said no thank you, and then gave up when the Empire attacked. How do you know? Yuna asked. Because, Taeyang said, if any of those species had actually fought back using real warfare, using human-style warfare, the Empire would have learned. They would have adapted. But they didn't. They're still using the same rules they used 3,000 years ago. That tells me nobody has ever really challenged them before. Minho was typing rapidly on his screen. I'm sending all of this to Earth Command. They need to see these edicts. They need to understand what we're dealing with. Good, Taeyang said. Make sure they understand something else too. What's that, sir? The Empire thinks they're being generous by giving us their rules ahead of time. They think we'll read these edicts and understand how civilized warfare works. They think we'll follow the same rules they do. But we won't, Hana said. No, Taeyang said with a smile. We won't. And that's going to be the biggest surprise they've ever had. Yuna looked worried. Sir, what if we're wrong? What if their way of fighting still works against us? They've conquered 1,000 species. They rule 40,000 star systems. Maybe there's something we're not seeing. Taeyang walked to the window and looked out at the stars. Maybe, he said. But I don't think so. You know why? Why? Because they're so confident. They sent us their rules. They told us their schedule. They gave us time to prepare. They did everything wrong. He turned back to his crew. The Empire is about to learn something important. Humans don't just break rules. We don't even know the rules exist. Earth had said no. The message to the Empire was short and simple. Humans would not kneel. Humans would not pay tribute. Humans would not follow the sacred edicts. Earth thanked the Empire for their offer but politely declined. 5 days later, Fleet Marshal Kothron arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system with 500 warships. Hyunwoo Nam watched them on his screen from Earth Defense Command. He was in charge of protecting humanity's home system. A job that had been mostly boring until now. He took a sip of his cold coffee and studied the enemy fleet. They're not hiding, said his assistant. A young woman named Somi. No, Hyunwoo agreed. They're not. The Empire's ships were arranged in a perfect formation. They looked beautiful, actually. Each ship was painted with bright colors and symbols. They moved together like a school of fish, perfectly organized. Sir, we're getting another transmission from the Fleet Marshal. Hyunwoo nodded. Put it on screen. Kothron appeared. He looked similar to Vex Thor, but bigger and covered in even more metals. His scales were bright red, and his voice was like thunder. Humans of Earth, Kothron announced. You have refused the Empire's generous offer. This is unfortunate. But the Empire is merciful. We will give you one more chance. Surrender now, and we will be gentle. Refuse, and we will destroy you. Hyunwoo waited to see if there was more. As required by Sacred Edict 156, Kothron continued. I formally declare war on your species. The decisive battle will take place in 10 days, at the coordinates of your largest moon. Both our fleets will meet there at the appointed time. May the stronger civilization prevail. The screen went dark. Somi looked at Hyunwoo. He just told us when and where he's going to attack. Yes. And he expects us to just show up? Apparently. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Hyunwoo smiled. I know. Contact Admiral Unji. Tell her she has 10 days to prepare the biggest surprise these aliens have ever seen. Admiral Yoonji Kwon received the message with glee. She was a short woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She had spent 30 years in Earth's military and had never expected to fight a real war against aliens. Now she had her chance. She called a meeting with all her commanders. Captain Taeyong was there by video link. So was Tactical Commander Sung-ho Park, a thin man with glasses who specialized in unconventional warfare. Let me make sure I understand, Unji said, looking at her notes. The Empire has 500 ships. They're currently waiting at the edge of our system. In 10 days, they will fly to our moon. They expect us to meet them there with our fleet. Then we fight. And whoever wins, wins. That's correct, Admiral, Taeyong confirmed. And they think we're going to follow these rules? They do. Yoonji laughed. It was a cold, dangerous laugh. Oh, this is going to be fun. Sung-ho, what do we have to work with? Sung-ho pulled up a screen showing Earth's defenses. We have about 200 warships. So we're outnumbered. But we have other assets they don't know about. Such as railgun platforms hidden in the asteroid belt, autonomous mines, stealth ships, cyber warfare systems, and about 3,000 drones that can be weaponized. The Empire says drones are dishonorable, Taeyong mentioned. Edict 603. All combat must involve living pilots. How convenient for us, Unji said. What else? Sung-ho smiled. We've been building relativistic kill vehicles, rocks accelerated to near light speed. The Empire's shields are designed to stop energy weapons and missiles, not kinetic weapons moving at 90% of light speed. Will they see them coming? Not until it's too late. Unji nodded slowly. Good. Here's what we're going to do. For the next 10 days, we play along. We move our fleet to the moon area. We make it look like we're preparing for their stupid, honorable battle. And then? Taeyong asked. And then we cheat. We cheat in every way possible. Sung-ho, I want mines placed along every route they might take to the moon. I want our stealth ships behind them. I want those railguns aimed and ready. I want everything we have positioned to hit them from every direction. What about our main fleet? Asked one of the commanders. The main fleet will not be at the moon, Yoonji said. That's what they're expecting. So we'll put about 20 ships there. Enough to make them think we're stupid enough to follow their rules. But our real fleet will be split into 3 groups, hiding in different locations. They'll think we're cowards for not showing up, Taeyong pointed out. I don't care what they think, Unji said. I care about winning. The 10 days passed quickly. The Empire's fleet waited patiently, exactly where they said they would be. They didn't scout ahead. They didn't send out patrols. They just waited, confident and proud. Human ships, meanwhile, moved quietly through the solar system. They placed mines in the debris field near the moon. They positioned railguns on asteroids. They hid stealth ships behind Mars. They prepared everything. On the morning of the 10th day, Fleet Marshal Kothran led his 500 ships toward Earth's moon. They moved in perfect formation, flags flying, weapons ready but not charged. Everything was according to the sacred edicts. They found 20 human ships waiting for them. Is this all? Kothran asked his officers. 20 ships? Perhaps the humans are cowards, one officer suggested. Or perhaps they are smarter than we thought, another said quietly. Kothran decided it didn't matter. 20 ships or 200, the result would be the same. Prepare for honorable combat. We will destroy these ships, then proceed to Earth. This will be a short war. 11. The Empire's fleet moved into attack formation. Their ships lined up in neat rows, just as they had practiced for centuries. Then the mines went off. Explosions tore through the Imperial formation. Ships that had been perfectly aligned suddenly found themselves damaged or destroyed. Chaos erupted as captains tried to figure out what had happened. Mines! Someone screamed. They placed mines. That's against the edicts, Kothran roared. That's dishonorable. But the mines didn't care about honor. 200 Imperial ships were gone in the first 30 seconds. Before Kothron could reorganize his fleet, the railguns opened fire. Solid metal slugs traveling at incredible speed punched through shields that were designed to stop energy weapons. More ships exploded. "Return fire," Kothron commanded. "Destroy those platforms." But the railgun platforms were hidden among thousands of asteroids. The Imperial ships didn't know which ones to shoot. Then the three human fleets appeared. Not from the direction of the moon where they were supposed to be, but from three different directions, surrounding the Imperial formation. "They're behind us," an Imperial captain shouted. "How are they behind us?" "It doesn't matter," Kothran said. "All ships, engage the enemy. Show them the might of the Empire." But the Imperial fleet was already broken. Their perfect formation was gone. Their ships were scattered and confused. And the human ships didn't fight fairly. They didn't line up for honorable combat. They used hit-and-run tactics. They focused fire on damaged ships. They protected each other with overlapping shields, while the Imperial ships fought alone. It wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. Admiral Yunji watched from her flagship. "Keep the pressure on. Don't let them regroup." Captain Taeyong's ship dove through the Imperial formation, firing at weak points. "They're trying to retreat. Don't let them," Unji ordered. "Any ship that tries to run, destroy it first." Sungho's tactical display showed the battle clearly. The Empire had started with 500 ships. Now they had less than 100, and those were damaged and scattered. Fleet Marshal Kothron's flagship was burning. His bridge was full of smoke. His officers were dead or dying. He couldn't believe what had happened. The battle had lasted less than 3 hours. A transmission came from the human fleet. Admiral Yunji's face appeared on his screen. "Marshal, surrender now, and we'll spare your remaining ships." "Surrender?" Kothron coughed out blood. You didn't follow the edicts. You didn't fight with honor. You used mines. You hid your ships. You attacked from behind. You cheated." "We didn't agree to your rules," Yunji said calmly. "You declared war on us. Remember? You chose this fight. We just chose how to fight it. But the sacred edicts. 3,000 years of tradition. Your tradition, not ours. Now, will you surrender?" Kothran looked around his dying ship. He thought about the 500 ships he had brought. He thought about how confident he had been. He thought about how the Empire had never lost a battle in 3,000 years. "Yes," he whispered. "We surrender." The remaining Imperial ships powered down their weapons. Human vessels moved in to capture them. In Earth Defense Command, Hyunwoo leaned back in his chair. "Well," he said to Somi, "that was easier than expected. Sir, we're getting thousands of messages from the Empire. They're demanding to know what happened. They're saying we violated the sacred edicts." "Sevener, tell them," Hyunwoo said, "that we never agreed to follow their edicts. Tell them that if they want to fight humans, they'd better learn how humans fight. Tell them." He paused. "Tell them this was just round one." The news of Fleet Marshal Kothron's defeat spread across the Empire like fire. For the first time in 3,000 years, an Imperial fleet had been completely destroyed. Species that had served the Empire for centuries gathered around their screens in shock. Some were horrified. Others were curious. A few were hopeful. On the Imperial capital world, Empress Silvara called an emergency meeting. The Council of Nine gathered in the Great Hall. These were the most powerful leaders of the Empire's founding species, and they were all very angry. "How could this happen?" demanded one council member. 500 ships, 500, and they were destroyed by these humans who only control one system." "The humans cheated," said another. "They didn't follow the sacred edicts. They used dishonorable tactics." "They used effective tactics," a third council member corrected quietly. "That's different." Empress Silvara raised her hand for silence. She was old, even for her long-lived species. Her scales were pale silver, and her eyes had seen many things. But she had never seen anything like this. "The question is not how we lost," she said. "The question is, what we do now. We send more ships," several council members said together. How many more? Silvara asked. All of them if necessary. We have 30,000 ships in the Imperial fleet, Silvara said slowly. If we send all of them, we leave our entire empire undefended. If we send some of them, what makes you think the result will be different? Nobody had an answer. The humans fight differently than any species we have encountered, Silvara continued. They do not follow the edicts. They do not fight honorably. And they do not surrender after one defeat. She looked around the council. Silvara. She looked around the council. Perhaps we should negotiate. Negotiate? The council members looked shocked. With beings who have no honor? Never. The Empire does not negotiate with cheaters. In the end, they decided to send more ships. Not all of them, but many. 5,000 ships. 30% of the entire Imperial fleet. Surely that would be enough. But the Empire made the same mistake again. They announced their attack. They declared war properly. They gave the humans time to prepare. And the humans did prepare, but not in the way the Empire expected. Nari Bay sat in a dark room filled with screens. She worked for Earth intelligence, and her job was to intercept enemy communications. What she was seeing made her smile. They're panicking, she told her supervisor. The Empire's military is sending messages in all directions. They're confused. They're scared. They don't know what to do. What are they saying? Listen to this. Nari played a recording. It was an Imperial admiral talking to his captains. The humans might be anywhere. They might attack from any direction. They don't follow the rules. How do we fight an enemy that has no honor? Poor baby, Nari's supervisor said sarcastically. Keep monitoring. Find out where their main fleet is going. But the humans didn't wait for the Empire's main fleet to arrive. Instead, they went on the attack. Commander Jiwan Seo led the special operations. She was small and quiet, but she was one of the best tactical minds in Earth's military. She specialized in hitting targets that thought they were safe. The Empire has hundreds of supply bases, Jiwan explained to her team. Most of them are barely defended because they've never been attacked before. The Empire doesn't have to protect their supply lines because everyone follows the edicts. Attacks on non-military targets are forbidden, but we don't follow the edicts, one of her team members said, grinning. Exactly. Over the next month, human strike teams hit dozens of Imperial supply bases. They destroyed fuel depots. They captured food shipments. They blew up weapons factories. The Empire's massive fleet found itself running out of supplies. Meanwhile, engineer Daeun Yang worked on a different problem. The Empire's ships all use similar technology, and they all communicated on known frequencies. Daeun developed cyber weapons that could infiltrate Imperial computer systems. Their security is terrible, Daeun told Captain Taeyang. They trust everyone, because everyone has always followed the same rules. They don't even have passwords on most of their systems. Can you control their ships? Not control, but I can confuse them. I can make their sensors lie. I can make them think they're being attacked when they're not. I can make them shoot at each other by accident. Do it. The Imperial fleet that was coming to destroy Earth never made it. As they traveled through space, their systems started malfunctioning. Ships reported enemies that didn't exist. Captains received orders that were fake. Confusion spread through the fleet. Then the real human ships attacked, and the confused Imperial fleet couldn't mount a proper defense. Another 1,000 ships were destroyed, but the Empire's problems were just beginning. Scientist Dong-Yun Lee had been studying Imperial communications. He noticed something interesting. Many species in the Empire were not happy. They served the Empress because they were afraid, not because they wanted to. The sacred edicts restricted them in ways they didn't like. We could use this, Dong-Yun told Earth Command. We could turn their own empire against them. How? Asked Hyun-woo. By offering them something better. Earth started broadcasting messages to all the species in the Empire. The messages were simple. Humans don't follow the sacred edicts. Humans believe every species should be free. If you're tired of Empire rules, join us. We'll help you. At first, nothing happened. But then one species, then another, started to rebel. They refused to send their ships to fight the humans. Some even declared independence from the Empire. Empress Silvara received reports every day, and every day the news was worse. Her empire was falling apart. Species that had been loyal for centuries were leaving. Her military was losing every battle against the humans. Her supply lines were destroyed. Her communications were being jammed. We need to stop fighting, one of her advisors suggested. We need to make peace. The council will never agree, Silvara said. Then the council is going to watch the empire collapse. The Council of Nine met again, but this time they were arguing with each other. Some wanted to keep fighting. Some wanted to surrender. Some wanted to change the sacred edicts to fight the humans better. If we change the edicts, we're admitting they were wrong, one council member said. 3,000 years of tradition, gone. If we don't change, we'll lose everything. Another shouted back. The arguments grew louder and angrier. For the first time in imperial history, the council could not agree on what to do. Meanwhile, the human fleet wasn't just defending Earth anymore. They were moving outward, liberating imperial systems. They weren't conquering. They were offering freedom. Captain Taeyang stood on the bridge of the Harmony as they approached another imperial world. Send the standard message, he told Yuna. Yuna broadcast to the planet below. People of this system, you are not our enemies. The Empire told you to fear us, but we come in peace. We offer you a choice. Join us in freedom, or stay with the Empire. But if you choose the Empire, we will ask you this. Do you really want to follow leaders who can't adapt? Who can't change? Who would rather lose everything than admit they were wrong? On the planet below, millions of aliens watched and listened. They looked at their own leaders, who still insisted the sacred edicts were perfect. Then they looked at the human ships, which had defeated the mighty Empire by simply refusing to play by outdated rules. One by one, systems started to defect. First a few, then dozens, then hundreds. The Empire was crumbling from within. Admiral Unji received reports of 30 more systems joining the human-led coalition. They're calling us liberators, she said to Sungho. Us. The species who fights dirty and breaks all the rules. Maybe that's exactly why they like us, Sungho replied. They were tired of rules. Back on the imperial capital, Empress Silvera made a decision. She dismissed the Council of Nine. She took full power, and then she did something no empress had done in 3,000 years. She requested peace talks with the humans. Your Majesty, this is shameful, her advisors protested. The Empire does not negotiate from weakness. The Empire, Silvara said tiredly, is already weak. At least if we talk to them now, we might save what's left. She composed a message to Earth. It was simple and direct. I am Empress Silvara. I wish to meet with human representatives to discuss peace. I will come to you. Choose the location. I will follow your rules, not mine. When Hyunwoo received the message, he showed it to Admiral Unji. What do you think? Is it a trick? Unji read the message carefully. No. I think she's sincere. The Empire is falling apart, and she knows it. She wants to save whatever she can. Should we agree? Yes. We've won. Now let's see if we can build something better than what we destroyed. The peace station was neutral territory. Built quickly at the edge of known space, it was a simple structure, nothing fancy, just a place where old enemies could meet and talk. Ambassador Jisoo Han arrived first. She was chosen to represent humanity because she was good at listening and better at negotiating. With her came Commander Minsok Park, a veteran soldier who understood both war and peace. Nervous? Minsok asked as they waited. A little, Jisoo admitted. 6 months ago, we were laughing at the Empire. Now we're deciding the future of the galaxy. You'll do fine. The doors opened, and Empress Silvara entered. She was alone except for 2 guards, and she looked tired. Very tired. The war had aged her, and her silver scales seemed duller than in her official portraits. Behind her came representatives from 30 other species. These were former Imperial subjects who had joined the human-led coalition. Some looked hopeful, some looked angry. All of them looked at the Empress with different eyes than before. "Ambassador Han," Silvara said, bowing her head slightly, "thank you for agreeing to meet." "Your Majesty," Jisoo replied, returning the bow. "Please, sit." Everyone took their seats around a large round table. No one sat higher than anyone else. This was intentional. There would be no thrones here. Silvara looked around the table at the species that had once been hers. Then she looked at Jisoo. "I suppose you want me to surrender completely. To dissolve the Empire. To admit that everything we built was wrong." "No," Jisoo said simply. Silvara blinked. "No? We don't want to destroy the Empire," Jisoo explained. "We want to change it. Or rather, let it change itself." "I don't understand." Jisoo pulled up a document on the screen in front of them. "This is a proposed treaty. We call it the Accords of Terra. Would you like to read it?" Silvara read in silence. As she went through each point, her expression changed from suspicious to surprised to thoughtful. "You're not demanding tribute," she said slowly. "No. You're not demanding territory. No. You're not demanding that I step down. No. Then what are you demanding?" "Freedom," Jisoo said. "For everyone." She explained each point of the treaty. First, the Empire could continue to exist. Any species that wanted to stay in the Empire and follow the sacred edicts was free to do so. No one would stop them. Second, any species that wanted to leave the Empire could leave without punishment. They could govern themselves or join the coalition. Their choice. Third, the sacred edicts would no longer be enforced on unwilling populations. Species that wanted to follow them could. Species that didn't want to follow them didn't have to. Fourth, the galaxy would establish open trade routes and free movement between systems. No more restrictions based on old rules. Fifth, a new galactic council would be formed with equal representation from all species, whether they were from the Empire, the Coalition, or independent. Silvara read it 3 times. "This is generous. It's practical," Minsock said. "We didn't fight this war to rule the galaxy. We fought it to prove a point." "What point?" "That no one should be forced to live by someone else's rules." One of the former Imperial representatives, a 4-armed being named Talia, spoke up. "Your Majesty, with respect, this treaty is more than fair. We could demand so much more. We won the war." Silvara nodded. "Yes. You won. That's why I don't understand. In 3,000 years of Imperial history, whenever we won, we took everything. Whenever someone else won, they did the same. But you're offering me a way to keep my dignity. To keep the Empire for those who want it." "Why?" Captain Taeyang, who had been sitting quietly, finally spoke. "Because we learned something a long time ago, Your Majesty. Victory in war is easy. Building a lasting peace is hard. If we humiliate you completely, what happens? You'll be angry. Your people will be angry. In 50 years, or 100 years, someone will want revenge. And we'll fight this war all over again. But if we offer respect," Jisoo continued, "if we offer choice, if we offer partnership, then maybe we can build something that lasts." Silvara was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "When you first received our message 6 months ago, you laughed. I watched the recording. Your entire bridge crew laughed at us. At me. At everything the Empire represented." "Yes," Taeyang admitted. "We did." "Why?" "Because," Taeyang said carefully, "your rules seemed absurd to us. Scheduling wars. Fighting with honor. Stopping for holidays. All of it seemed like a game. Not real conflict." "It was real to us," Silvara said quietly. "I know that now," Taeyang replied. "And I apologize. We weren't laughing at you personally. We were laughing at the situation, at the difference between your way and our way, at the fact that you honestly believed everyone in the galaxy fought the way you did. Was it really so different? Your Majesty, Minsok said. May I be blunt? Please. The Empire's way of war is beautiful. It's structured. It's predictable. It probably prevented a lot of unnecessary deaths over the centuries. But it only works if everyone agrees to the rules. The moment someone doesn't agree, the entire system falls apart, and humans don't agree to anything, Silvara said with a slight smile. We agree to lots of things, Jisoo corrected. But we don't agree to be controlled. We don't agree to follow rules just because they're old. We question everything. We adapt. We change. Another former imperial representative spoke up. The Empress should know something. Many of us were unhappy in the Empire for a long time. But we never thought we could leave. We never thought anyone would challenge the sacred edicts. When we saw humans laugh at those edicts, when we saw humans break every rule and still win, it gave us hope. Hope for what? Silvara asked. Hope that things could be different. Silvara looked at Jisoo. If I sign this treaty, I'm admitting the sacred edicts were wrong. I'm admitting that 3,000 years of tradition were… What? A mistake? Not a mistake, Jisoo said gently. Just not universal. Your edicts worked for you and for species like you. But they didn't work for everyone. That's not wrong. That's just… limited. And if species choose to leave the Empire, then they leave. But some will stay. Some species like structure. Some like tradition. Some will want to follow the edicts. That's their choice. And we'll respect it. Silvara stood up and walked to the window. Outside, stars shone in the darkness. I thought we had brought order to the galaxy. I thought we had civilized the chaos. But maybe we just forced everyone to be like us. She turned back to the table. I have a question for you, Ambassador. What happens in 50 years? 100 years? Humans are clearly strong, clearly smart. Won't you just build your own empire? Won't you force everyone to be like you? Maybe, Jisoo admitted. We're not perfect. But here's the difference. If we try to force people, if we try to make everyone follow our rules, then we become what we fought against. And there will be other species, somewhere, who will laugh at us the way we laughed at you, and they'll beat us the way we beat you. That's the lesson. What lesson? That no one stays on top forever. That empires fall. That the only way to build something lasting is to build it on choice, not force. Silvara returned to her seat. She looked at the treaty one more time. Then she looked at all the representatives around the table. Former enemies, current allies, future partners. I will sign, she said. Not because I have to, but because maybe you're right. Maybe 3,000 years of doing things the same way is enough. She signed the document. One by one, all the other representatives signed as well. Human and alien. Empire and coalition. Old enemies making a new start. When it was done, Minsok raised a cup. To the Accords of Terra. To freedom. To choice. Everyone raised their cups. To freedom. To choice. Silvara raised hers as well. Though she looked uncomfortable. I still don't understand humans completely, she admitted. You fight without honor. You break every rule. You laugh at things that should be serious. But somehow that works for you. And Ascend, we're not asking you to understand us, Your Majesty, Taeyang said with a smile. We're just asking you to accept that we're different. That everyone's different. And that's okay. It will take time, Silvara said. Many in the Empire will be angry about this treaty. They will say I betrayed our values. Let them be angry, Jisoo said, but also remind them what the alternative was. Total defeat. Complete humiliation. The end of everything they built. This way, they keep their dignity and their choice. 6 months later, Ambassador Jisoo Han stood in a classroom at the new Coalition Academy. She was teaching a mixed group of students from dozens of different species. Some were human, some were former imperial subjects. All of them were learning together. Can anyone tell me, Jisoo asked her class, why the Empire lost the war? A young human student raised his hand. Because we had better tactics. That's part of it. What else? A former Imperial student, a small reptilian similar to Silvara's species, raised her hand. Because we were too rigid, we couldn't adapt. Good. But there's one more reason, the most important reason. The class waited. The Empire lost because they couldn't imagine someone saying no. For 3,000 years, everyone they met either joined them willingly or surrendered quickly. They had never met someone who laughed at their rules. They had never met someone who questioned their way of doing things. She pulled up an old recording. It was Captain Taeyang and his bridge crew, receiving the Empire's first message. She showed them the moment when everyone started laughing. This is the moment everything changed, Jisoo said. Not because we were cruel, not because we were mocking them, but because we saw their rules and thought, that's ridiculous. Why would we follow that? But wasn't it disrespectful? Asked one of the Imperial students. Yes, Jisoo admitted. It was. And if I could go back, I might ask them to be gentler. But the laughter was honest. It was real. And sometimes, honest laughter is what's needed to break through centuries of tradition. She looked around at her diverse class. The lesson here isn't that humans are better than the Empire. The lesson is that no one way of doing things works for everyone. The Empire's way worked for them, but they tried to make it work for everyone, and that was their mistake. So what's the right way? A student asked. There isn't one right way, Jisoo said. That's the point. There are many right ways, many different approaches, many different solutions. The key is to let people choose, to respect differences, to adapt when necessary. After class, the former Imperial student approached Jisoo. Ambassador, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you think the Empress made the right choice, signing the treaty? I think she made the brave choice, Jisoo said. It would have been easier to fight to the bitter end, to go down with her empire. But instead, she chose to change, to adapt. That takes real strength. We still follow the sacred edicts in our system, the student said. Does that make us wrong? No, Jisoo assured her. It makes you you. Follow the edicts if they work for you. Change them if they don't. That's your choice. That's everyone's choice now. That evening, Jisoo sat with Captain Taeyang at a cafe overlooking the city. They watched ships from 100 different worlds coming and going. Do you ever think about that first day? Taeyang asked. When we laughed at the Empire? Every day, Jisoo said. Any regrets? About laughing? No. About how we handled it afterwards? Maybe. We could have been kinder, but we were honest. Yes, we were honest. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the galaxy move around them. An empire that had lasted 3,000 years was now just one choice among many. And somehow, that seemed right. You know what's funny, Taeyang said. What? If the Empire had just asked us to join instead of demanding it, we might have said yes. We might have looked at their rules, laughed a little, then worked together to make something new. But they had to learn the hard way. Just like we had to learn the hard way that winning a war doesn't mean much if you can't win the peace. Jisoo smiled. Look at us. Getting philosophical in our old age. Oh, we earned it. Above them, the stars shone bright. And somewhere in those stars, 1,000 species were learning to live together. Not because they had to, not because someone forced them, but because they chose to. And that, more than any battle or any treaty, was worth celebrating.